Welcome to LittleWorldshakers Live. I'm so excited. All you little game changers are here with me today. Man, you guys, we've reached the last week of the story of Moses, but it's going out with a bang. This is one of the best and most important parts of Moses' story. It has to do with something called the 10 Commandments. Guys, we're going to learn something today. I love Moses' story because he's given us so many tools for even what we're going through right now. And he's going to give us more tools today to help us get through this week. Buckle up, sit tight. Here we go.
Pharaoh had a terrible week last week. Let's do a little recap. Well, he thought that the Hebrew slaves were born to serve him in his palace and all his men? Wow, he really was mistaken. Then we see Moses constantly come to his palace at his throne and ask him, Pharaoh, please let my people go. God is totally upset with you and you're about to see his wrath. Pharaoh said, ha ha ha. Who cares about this God I've never heard? I'm God in my palace. You know what, Moses? Be gone. Okay, Pharaoh. That's what Moses said. But I'll be back. Back and forth they went. And finally, after the last plague, as you see, I have my staff. God used Moses and this staff for so many miracles. If we remember, the first few weeks, the staff was used when God said, drop the staff, Moses, and from there, I'm going to perform a miracle. So Moses was obedient. He dropped the staff and it turned into a snake. Pharaoh laughed at that because he thought, well, I'll just bring my magicians and they can do the same thing you did. So he brought his magicians and what did they do? They dropped their staff and it turned into a snake also. But Moses said, I have something better than you. What I'm going to do is I'm going to have my snake, imagine a cobra, right? Just eating all the other snakes. Pharaoh, he tried to hold himself together because you could see that he was amazed by this miracle, but he still didn't resist. He said, Moses, I still don't know who your God is. And what is this? A joke? Your snake eats our snakes? Anybody could do that. So from there, he sent Moses away again. But God used Moses in the final plague to dip his staff into the water, and we seen the water turn to blood. At that point, Pharaoh said, I've had enough. Leave. Leave my palace. Remember those words, kids? Leave my palace. Leave my kingdom. Leave Egypt. Take your people, Moses, and go. So from there, Moses took the Israelites, the chosen people, and they started to trek through the waters. When they got to the waters of the Red Sea, God performed another miracle by parting the Red Sea. So the sea split in two, and then the people of God were able to walk right through it. At that time, it was perfect timing because Pharaoh was hot on their trails. He realized he needed the Hebrew slaves to come back again, because he couldn't give up all that free labor. They were doing everything he needed for free. So God closed up the waters, and all the Egyptians and the king and his men, they all died right there in the Red Sea. Okay, sit tight, because this story that we have this week is going to see how important it is to be thankful, to be grateful, to worship God, and to also trust his promises. The Israelites, they're definitely far from getting to the promised land, but a big miracle took place on them being released from the Egyptians. So sit back and enjoy the ride. We have a special story ahead.
So we're going to pick up right where we left off, where the Egyptians got washed away in that big sea known as the Red Sea. Okay, so what happens next? Moses and Aaron are still in charge of leading the Israelites, but now, remember before Pharaoh released the Israelites, he said, you can go do something. He said, you can finally go worship your God. So this is huge, you guys, because this is the first time in the Bible where people started to praise and worship. Hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. Just like us. Remember when we started doing praise and worship on Sundays with our amazing worship team at Congregation? I would be right there next to you guys, and we love to worship, right? All of you little world shakers, tell me about how much you love worship and praise. So this was a big deal. This was the first time in the Bible that they were able to sing and dance to praise God, just like us today. So they're praising and singing, and then there comes a time where they're back on their journey. And Moses and Aaron are leading them to where? To the promised land. Okay. They're headed to the promised land. What is the promised land? The promised land is something God promised the Israelites after all these setbacks they had, after all these challenges they faced. You have an inheritance. You are going to get something amazing. You are promised this land. You're going to get this promised land where you can thrive and flourish, and you have your own space to build. You guys, this was a big deal. So they continue out on their journey, and 3 days in, they get to a place called Marah. It was named Marah because it was bitter. They had these places of water, but the water wasn't drinkable. So the Israelites were excited because they're thirsty. They've been on this journey. They haven't had anything to drink. They get to this place where there's a lot of water, but they take a drink and it's bitter. It's not drinkable. So they start to complain. And this is super important, guys, because in this story today, complaining is the theme. The Israelites were like us in many ways. When we don't like something or we don't feel like it's going our way, we start to complain. We go to other people and we say, I don't like this. I'm hungry. The Israelites were tired. They were thirsty. So they start to go to Moses and Aaron again and say, man, I wish we would have just died in Egypt. Why would we come out into this wilderness and it's 3 days and we haven't had anything to drink? We might as well have just died in Egypt. What would you say to that? That was like ungrateful. God just delivered them from the most powerful man, Pharaoh. He delivered them so many times when they kept thinking, it's over, we're gonna die. Pharaoh keeps coming back for more, and God was faithful every time. He did so many miracles for the Israelites. And they still thought in this moment that God was going to leave them dry. He was going to let them die of thirst. Little did they know, they underestimated God again. So they go to Moses and Moses and Aaron go to God as they always do. And they say, God, these people keep complaining to us. We know that you've been faithful and you've showed up, God, but we don't know what to tell them. So God says, Moses, throw that piece of wood into the water and the water's going to become sweet. Another miracle. So Moses throws the wood in the water becomes drinkable, and the Israelites again are saved by God. But see, the Israelites kept looking at God as if the last miracle he did was going to be it. But God is all powerful. God can do anything at any time. So when we need him and we look around and we think he's not with us, you have to look at all the times that he was there for you before. And he's going to be there for you again, just like he was for the Israelites. So they get their water, they go back on their journey, and now it's been some time again, and now they're hungry. So what do? They start complaining again. Moses, I'm hungry. We've been out on this journey. We should have just died. The Israelites were dramatic. Every time they were upset, they just told Moses, why shouldn't we have just stayed in Egypt and died under Pharaoh's rule? Isn't that crazy? Everything God did for them. But they keep going back to God's gonna leave us. We're starving. We're thirsty. So what does Moses and Aaron do? They go to God again. And this is big, you guys, because right now, when things in our life look like they're not working out, never forget the power of prayer. Moses and Aaron, like we talked about last week, they kept going to God. They talked to God. How do we talk to God? We pray. So you can do the same thing today. When you feel like, I don't like what's happening around me, or you see people in pain, or you see people hurting, or even if someone's bothering you, no matter what it is that you're unhappy about, talk to God. You talk to Him in prayer, in your own private time. You can go in your room. You can even do it when you pray with your family before dinner. You can pray for your family, for your parents, for everything around you, okay? Never underestimate the power of prayer. So this is one thing I love about Moses and Aaron, that they kept going back to their source. They knew that God, if He saved them once, He can save them again. So they went back and they prayed. And what happened? God said, if you would just listen to me, Israelites, if you guys would just hear me out, I am here for you. I'm your friend. I'm your protector. I'm your healer. But you gotta listen to me. I'm gonna bring bread in the morning. I'm gonna bring quail in the evening. I'm gonna bring an oversupply of food, so you'll never worry about food. And God again kept His promise. So the Israelites woke up the next day, they had their food. Now they're headed to Mount Sinai. Mount Sinai is a major point in this story because God meets Moses at Mount Sinai. When God meets Moses here, He causes lightning, loud thunder, and rain. And it's the people, the Israelites, can see that it's God because it's out of nowhere. There's all this crazy weather. But when Moses comes down from Mount Sinai, he has this glow on his face. He's like radiant, hey. And then out comes the 10 Commandments.
Moses, go back down and warn the people not to break through the boundaries to see the Lord, or they will die. Even the priests who regularly come near to the Lord must purify themselves so that the Lord does not break out and destroy them.
But Lord, the people cannot come up to Mount Sinai. You already warned us. You told me. Mark off a boundary all around the mountain to set it apart as holy.
Moses, go down and bring Aaron back up with you. In the meantime, do not let the priests or the people break through to approach the Lord, or He will break out and destroy them.
What can we learn from Moses' story? Today, I really think we should focus on not complaining. God was trying to show the Israelites time and time again, I'm with you. I got you. We're friends. I'm your healer. I'm your provider. You can come to me. You can talk to me. So let's remember that this week, okay? I want you to remember when you're frustrated, when something's bothering you, try to talk to God about it. Try not to complain. When mom and dad ask you to do something, try to do it right away. Try not to complain. And if you don't like what they're asking you to do, tell God about it. And let's see what He tells you. Okay? We're going to have an amazing week, you guys. God is with us, just like He was with the Israelites, okay? Next week, we have a phenomenal superhero. We're going to keep this thing going. Keep shaking up the world, Little World Shakers, one step at a time.
Hello, it's Tim Story. I hope you enjoyed the service. If so, subscribe. If not, still subscribe. It's good.